One point I wanted to make to you is that after we put it into Chapter 11, I really got depressed. I'm a pretty optimistic guy, but I really got down and depressed and feeling sorry for myself. But one morning then I had my life-changing experience. And I'm following this big truck that had a crane built on it. And I wasn't tailgating, fortunately, when suddenly the guy's drive shaft fell off. And like this 10 or 12-foot missile comes out from under this big truck and it's heading straight for my windshield. So I accelerate, and the drive shaft goes right over the top. I came out of my funk real quick. And I'm thinking, man, was I lucky when this transmission housing fell off. And this giant glob of steel came out, and I ran over it. And he pulls off to the side of the road because he doesn't have any locomotion. So I pull off behind him, get out, and this guy was the epitome of what you and I know as a good old Texas boy. And he had the overalls on, and the buttons were unbuttoned on the side, and his pant leg was stuffed in the boots. Boots had mud all over him. And he had about a 2-day growth of beard and a chaw on the cheek, and he had an engineer's cap on, kind of sideways. And all he did was walk around this big rig complaining, what a bad day I'm having. This thing was stuck in the mud out at McKinney. I'm going to be late for the next job. The boss is going to be mad. And he goes on and on. I get down and look underneath my car, and it's dripping a little bit of oil, but nothing very serious. So I go over and I nailed him about on his third revolution around his truck and stopped him. And I said, sir, why don't you come get in the car with me? We'll go into Louisville. We'll find a phone. We'll call your boss. You can tell him all your troubles. I want to talk to him and see what kind of insurance you got. And we'll get on with our life. So finally he agreed. And he gets in with me. And I'm all dressed up, and I'm driving, and he starts all over again. What a bad day I'm having. This thing was stuck in the mud. I'm going to be late for the next job. I didn't say anything. And finally he looked over at me and he said, hey, Mac, what do you do for a living? And I said kind of softly, I'm the president of Braniff. He said, damn, thought I was having a bad day. I'm up in the 727 one morning at DFW with this young man, and we're throwing the bags out on the conveyor. I mean, we're carefully unloading your luggage. That's why I carry mine on. Anyway, he said, are we going to make it? And I said, I don't know. But what really irritates me is your fellow employees are stealing us blind. I mean, he could have been one of the thieves for all I knew. And he stopped and he said, can I trust you? And I said, if you're going to give me some information, I'm going to use it. But I'll keep your name out of it. He said, try gate 16 to 23 between 10 o'clock and midnight. That's all I can tell you. So when we finished the airplane, I got off, called head of security. We moved the off-duty policeman down there. Now, in the meantime, I get a letter from a flight attendant named Joy Clements, that name is embedded in my mind, and you'll see why in a moment. And Joy said, I have heard you speak recently at DFW, and you said you were going to make the company smaller in order to try to save it. So that means I'm going to get furloughed again. So I used my last pass, and I went home to Philadelphia for an early Christmas. I only had $250. I bought Christmas gifts. When I got to Philadelphia, my Christmas gifts are gone. And I know what happened to them. My fellow employees at DFW stole them. What are you going to do about it? The weeks go by. Christmas Eve, I get a call from security. They've caught 22 of them in the theft ring at DFW. And we were just about to go to church on Christmas Eve. And he said, what do you want me to do with them? I said, fire them all. I want them all put in jail. I want them to spend Christmas Day in jail. And then put out a press release that Braniff has fired 22 of their employees, and we will prosecute to the letter of the law. Even though we didn't have any money, your integrity and your honesty is so important. And I was running through DFW airport one morning to catch a flight, and this flight attendant yelled at me, and she said, Howard, stop, I got to talk to you. And she comes running up, and I stopped. She said, you're not going to believe what happened coming back from LaGuardia this morning. And I thought, oh, God, what happened now? I said, okay, lay it on me. She said, okay, you ready? A passenger smiled. And I said, what caused that unusual event? She said, I smiled at him. She said, well, I'm coming up from the rear galley serving coffee. And this grumpy guy on the aisle said, is this airline going to make it? And I said, well, I don't know, sir. It's going to be very tough, but I just had a note from Howard Putnam, and he said, whatever. The guy said, you had a note from Putnam? I want to see it. So she turned around and she went back to the galley and opened her purse and brought him my note. He handed it to him. He read it, and she said he looked up and he smiled. And the guy across the aisle said, what the hell are you smiling for? We're on Branagh. And the guy said, read this. And he passed the note across the aisle. And she said, and we were talking about how people feel free to talk on Southwest Airlines. That began to happen. People begin to talk. What can we do to help save our company, this company from Dallas, Texas? That began to happen all over the country. And it got into the media. And the employees suddenly began to feel good about themselves again.
Howard Putnam has encapsulated his career and visionary leadership in The Winds of Turbulence, published by HarperCollins. His programs address leadership, innovation, change, people and culture, and ethics.
You know, one of the greatest challenges in life is being the person your dog thinks you are. The one business that I know you're in, and I know that I am in, is the people business. And usually waitresses don't pay any attention to little kids. But this one did. And she brought little Mike a little high chair to sit on his chair. She brought him silverware. She brought him a napkin, water, a menu. She brought him the whole 9 yards. And he sat there with that menu upside down, pretending he could read, and turned to his mother and said, hey, Mom, she thinks I'm a people. She thinks I'm a people. And I think that still says it today. Your customers, your stakeholders, your suppliers, your investors, they're all people. And if we can work together like that as a team, as Kurt Brown said, as a team, you've got a much greater opportunity for success ahead. Thank you very much. God bless.